Reporting from Arkham Asylum, this is Gotham Rogues. In this video we take a look at the Batman the Animated Series episodes, Feet of Clay Part 1 and 2. Feet of Clay was written by Marv Wolfman and Michael Reeves, and directed by Dick Sebast and Kevin Altieri. The episode served as the introduction of Clayface on the show. We meet Matt Hagen, a celebrated actor who's been in a car accident, severely disfiguring him, presumably ending his career. Hagen is then approached by shady businessman Roland Daggett, who offers him a way to get his handsome face back. Daggett's companies produce a cream called Renew You, a substance which when applied to skin makes it malleable like putty. With this product, Hagen is able to shape his horrific face back to what it used to look like before the accident. There's just one catch. In return, Daggett wants to use Hagen for various criminal jobs. With his acting skills and now shape-shifting face, Matt is the perfect impersonator, able to imitate anyone. Hagen agrees, and for a while everything works great. He resumes his career, doing some of the best roles of his life, but then he botches one of the assignments from Daggett, failing to kill Lucius Fox while in the guise of Bruce Wayne. As punishment, he's cut off from the Renew You, and growing desperate, Hagen breaks into one of Daggett's labs, where he tries to steal some. Unfortunately for him, he's caught by Daggett's goons, who decide to give him what he wants. They pour an entire can full of Renew You cream over poor Matt, and then dump him inside a car. Presumed to be dead, Hagen later returns as Clayface, a giant creature made of malleable clay, capable of shape-shifting into any form imaginable. This state of being is the result of the massive amounts of Renew You bonding with his cells. Now a freak monster, albeit a very powerful one, Hagen plans to get revenge on Daggett. Batman, who was investigating Daggett himself for the attempt on Lucius Fox's life and frame-up of Wayne, is naturally the only man who can stop this Clayface. So when it came time for the creators of TAS to adapt Clayface, they actually had several characters to choose from. In the comics, the history of Clayface was a bit of a mess. We've had the original Clayface in the 1940s, Basil Karlo, a psychotic, washed-up actor who went mad when a remake of his classic picture The Terror went into production. He donned the costume of Clayface, the villain of Terror, and began to kill off the cast and crew of the new movie. Karlo had no powers. He was just a crazy serial killer wearing a freaky mask. Then we got Matt Hagen in his 60s, a treasure hunter and small-time criminal who discovered a weird pool of protoplasma inside an underwater cavern. Getting exposed to the strange slime, Hagen was transformed into a clay creature with shape-shifting abilities. We of course then also got the Melting Man Clayface, Preston Payne, in the 70s, and Sandra Fuller, aka Lady Clayface, in the 80s, who had similar powers to Hagen. Hagen actually died in the mid-80s during Crisis on Infinite Earths, and a few years later the other three Clayfaces teamed up, forming the Mud Pack. During this collaboration, Basil Karlo, the unofficial leader of the pack, took samples of both Payne and Fuller, as well as from the remains of Hagen. He then injected the samples into himself, gaining all of their powers, becoming the ultimate Clayface. That was in 1989, and in 1992, when these episodes were made, that was basically where Clayface stood in the comics. None of the Clayfaces had made any appearances since the Mud Pack, besides maybe some small cameos. So yeah, Clayface as a concept and a character was a mess. Don't get me wrong though, I love all those pre-90s Clayface stories, but obviously the animated series couldn't follow the comics. They had to pick one Clayface and run with him, or combine traits of several Clayfaces, creating their own version. The latter is what they did. They took Karlo and Hagen, the two first Clayfaces, and smashed them together. In these episodes, Clayface is an actor just like Karlo, but his name is Matt Hagen, and he's got shape-shifting powers just like, well, Hagen. Characterization-wise, he's Karlo, an actor and a bit of an arrogant diva, but superficially he's Hagen, the shape-shifting Clayman, and he's got his name of course. But Marv Wolfman and the other creators also came up with some stuff of their own. They scrapped the underwater cavern pool origin and replaced it with Roland Daggett's Renew You cream. They also scrapped the Terror remake motivation, replacing it with getting revenge on Daggett. So we've got a mix of old classic Clayface tropes from the comic books and brand new stuff. And what do I think of this take on the character, or rather concept of Clayface? Well, I think it's great, and the best thing they could have done. A plain Matt Hagen might have been a bit boring, and a plain Basil Karlo wouldn't have worked for the animated series. He's too gruesome. Plus, the old Karlo didn't properly represent Clayface, not even having any powers and all. I also feel it would have been too much of a missed opportunity to not blend Basil with Matt. I mean, shape-shifting powers are just perfect for a character who's an actor. Actors are known for being chameleons, having the ability to become someone else. And here's a guy who can literally do that for real. Michael, change his appearance to resemble just anyone. Combine that with his acting skills, and you've got a perfect villain gimmick. The original Hagen from the comics didn't really have a thing like that going on. His gimmick was mainly to change his various animals. In fact, he didn't really have any theme going on. Hagen was just portrayed as a big threat for Batman, a living weapon. Not saying there aren't any good Hagen comics though. Check out my top 5 best Clayface stories video for a couple of those. But anyway, giving the powers to a Carlo type character proved to be far more suiting. I don't think it's strange that this particular version has become what most people consider to be the definitive Clayface. Even the visual design used here has become the standard Clayface look. Before these episodes, Matt Hagen was just a normal sized guy. He had a regular build and height, he just happened to be made of clay. But now Clayface is always depicted as a hulking tank of a mud monster. I really like Matt's motivations. He's a pretty sympathetic guy. The accident ruins his career, and thus his life. Then he's given this miraculous solution by Daggett, but of course it's too good to be true. He's forced to be Daggett's pawn and assassin, doing the guy's dirty work. And he wasn't even a criminal to begin with, just an actor. Now he's suddenly dragged into this kind of life. Then when he fails just one time, Daggett has him turned into a hideous freak. Now he's not even a human being anymore. I mean, you can't call a sentient pile of clay human. No wonder the guy wants to off Daggett. Roland Daggett really is the true villain of these episodes. It's very much like in Heart of Ice with Ferris Boyle, Two-Face Part 1 and 2 with Rupert Thorne, and If You're So Smart Why Aren't You Rich with Daniel Mockridge. A more plain and ordinary crook who inadvertently creates a freakish rogue. As for Batman himself, I think he has some standout cool moments in this two-parter. At one point he chases after a car driven by a Daggett goon in the Batwing, and he even follows him into a tunnel. Batman then rams right into the car, piercing through it with those tips on the front of the plane. Flying out of the tunnel, he takes the car with him. Later, Batman interrogates another Daggett goon, who happens to be a germaphobe, inside a hospital. Batman chases the guy into some storage room filled with jars containing various bacteria. He then picks up one of the jars, claims it contains a deadly incurable disease, and places it above the goon's head on a shelf. As the goon refuses to answer Batman's questions, he punches the wall, which causes the jar above to shake and move further to the edge. Batman keeps at it until the jar almost falls to the floor, which would have unleashed whatever horrific virus it contained. Naturally, we then find out that it contained something harmless. It was all just a bluff, but one really effective scare tactic. Batman is a total badass in this two-parter, and it features without a doubt some of the most Batman moments of the series. The action scenes overall are better than usual, especially the stuff with Clayface's shapeshifting. They really did some nice animation with Hagen's powers, displaying his many forms and rapid transformations. Clayface was voiced by well-known actor Ron Perlman, who I don't think need any introduction. I actually don't have much to say about his performance. It's really good, but I do feel that they should have done something to it in post for the scenes after Matt's become Clayface. He basically just sounds the same. I think his hideous transformation into a monster could have been even more effective if he spoke in a strange, very inhuman sounding voice. I guess that's almost a nitpick though. So, in conclusion, Feet of Clay Part 1 and 2 is definitely one of the best Clayface stories ever told, and one of the best villain origin episodes on TAS. I don't think it's quite up there with Two-Face, Mr. Freeze and the Mad Hatter's origins though, but it's not too far behind. Now, according to the voting we did a while back, the next TAS review is supposed to be the Joker's Favor, but I'm actually going to deviate from the vote a bit, and instead the next 2 episodes I review will be ones I've been itching to do for quite some time now, namely Pretty Poison, followed by Riddler's Reform. After those 2, I'll resume the proper order and cover the final 2 episodes from the votes, Joker's Favor and Mudslide. Anyway, as always, remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.